Bring it down, speak louder. Know what's my name? Step. Eagerly leaving the scene to go and chase his dream. On a mission, wishing ever since he was only 15. With sincerity, I'll never give in to the popularity. The clarity's a rarity when you're compared to me. Now where were we? And I don't mean to be cocky, but I'm never doing this sloppy. And all that hating, it's not me. So I'm original, no copy. Can't copy my swag. I'm spitting, licking, twisting like my name was Mickey Fats. And I'm the 11th freshman on the cover, double XL. Didn't get any recognition cause I forgot how to spell. Fixed it with the quick lyricism, so I gotta spit quick as hell. So now I'm doing it well. Ain't hard, but I bet you can tell. And a lock in my method, I said it.
What's up, everybody? This is Sam with Shady Sports Network. Today we're talking about a couple different pieces of news that came out. You always get news this time of year when the NFL owners start meeting to change rules and whatnot, and some of the things that have been rule related. The main thing that happened was the fact that the overtime rule changed, proposed by Indianapolis and Philadelphia. The overtime rules will warrant that in the postseason, both teams will in fact get a possession moving forward. The other big piece of news that came out rule related was the fact that now women will be included underneath the premise of the Rooney Rule. Previously, the Rooney Rule forced teams to interview and or hire minority candidates. Now it will also cover women as well, forcing every team to start considering and or hiring women for positions within their coaching staff. I personally believe this is a huge step towards something that's been coming for many years. We've seen several female coaches succeed at this level, and it's about damn time that the NFL steps up and makes this move. But the last piece of news and the biggest piece of the news that I wanted to cover today is the news that came out of New Orleans today. Taysom Hill will no longer be playing quarterback for the New Orleans Saints. If you looked at his contract that he signed last season, we kind of had an idea that they were preparing for the fact that he may not necessarily be in the quarterback conversation in the future. Although they did build in $60 million in incentives that he could get if he played quarterback. However, this did not occur, and he will be focusing on the position of tight end in 2022. Dennis Allen came out and said this at a recent press conference, and he backed this up by going out and signing veteran quarterback Andy Dalton, who is not known for his mobility in the slightest bit. With this being said, Taysom Hill has been a player that has always intrigued me. He is a guy who has the willingness and athleticism to be a quarterback and still contribute in other ways. He's been used as a tight end, quarterback, running back, and on special teams, and he's always been a unique player since entering the NFL. All the way back to his college and high school career, he's been a different kind of guy. In high school, he lettered in football, basketball, and track, and he would verbally commit to Stanford. However, after learning that he could not, in fact, enter school early, after he returned from a church mission, he found out that Stanford was going to force him to wait till June. He instead decided to decommit and instead verbally commit to BYU, where he ended up attending college. For those that don't know, BYU is unlike any other school in the college football landscape. They have extremely strict standards and strong ties to religious backgrounds, which pushes a lot of students away that would otherwise maybe consider BYU. This, in fact, appealed to Hill, who has always had deep roots in his own religious beliefs. His faith in his abilities and his belief that God had big plans for him would be tested often in college. He would begin his career with BYU as the number 2 quarterback, but stop me if you've heard this before, coaches wanted to utilize his athleticism, so they developed packages to use him as a short yardage runner. As a freshman, he would ultimately play in 6 games, starting 2 of them before suffering a season-ending knee injury. In year 2, he would return from his injury this time with expectation of being the full-time starter. This would mark the best season of his college career, in which he played in all 13 games. Hill was able to amass 2,938 passing yards, despite completing just barely over half of his passes. He racked up 19 passing touchdowns and 14 interceptions, but added another 246 rushing attempts for 1,344 yards and 10 touchdowns, therefore returning to even higher expectations in his junior season, 2014. Hill began the season on a hot streak, which ultimately amounted to his best streak as a starter passing-wise so far. He was averaging 7.4 yards per attempt and had 7 touchdowns to just 3 interceptions. He also managed a 66.7% completion rate, which was a career high to that point. On the ground, he had 87 rushing attempts for 460 yards and 8 touchdowns, in all in just 5 games. However, this season would end due to a fractured bone in his leg. 3 seasons down and 2 seasons ending in leg injuries. Keep that in the back of your mind for later. This time in 2015, Hill was heading into his senior season. He needed to finish on a strong note if he expected any chance of making it in professional football. However, in the first game of the season, Hill would ultimately be bitten by the injury bug once again, suffering a Liz Frank injury, and it was announced almost immediately that he would miss the rest of the year following the game. Hill would, however, apply for and be granted a medical waiver allowing him 1 more year of football eligibility. I don't know about Taysom Hill on a personal level, but if you have any doubt in your mind that he came into this season knowing it would make or break his future, you haven't been paying attention. Taysom Hill was set to head into his 5th year of collegiate play with little to no hope of another mulligan if this year didn't go according to plan. Hill had played in just 25 games to this point in 4 previous seasons, leaving himself with an uphill battle to a professional football field, to say the least. A battle that would be nearly impossible if he didn't have a strong senior season and specifically show an ability to stay healthy. A man who has been predicated on his athleticism now had foot, knee, and leg injuries through 4 seasons of college. Hill returned to form despite all this in 2016. As a senior, he may have had a slightly down year passing with a 59.7 completion rate, a career low in yards per attempt, and just 12 TDs to 11 interceptions, adding 137 carries for 607 yards and 8 more touchdowns. However, he demonstrated an ability that was more important to his professional future: the ability to stay on the field. Despite his performance, he was not invited to the combine and instead had to rest on his pro day numbers no matter what happened. Well, Hill not only impressed, he just about made everyone forget that he had 3 injuries that required surgery in college alone. He would go out during his pro day at BYU, measuring at 6'1", 5'8" inches, 230 pounds, with 31-inch arms and an 8 7/8 inch hands. He went out and ran a 4.44 40-yard dash, 1.61 10-yard split, a 4.37 20-yard shuttle, and a 3-cone drill of 7.03, a vertical jump of 38.5 inches, and a broad jump of 10 foot 2 inches. If you're not familiar with any of those numbers, that's basically numbers that most skill position players strive for at the professional level. Despite all this, he also brought to the field the size of a bell cow running back and the arm to develop as a passer at the NFL level. Despite all this, a combination of his injuries and perceived limitations as a passer led to him going undrafted in 2017. The Packers brought him in to compete for a roster spot, and he would go on to play in 3 of 4 preseason games where he would impress. He racked up solid stats, completing 14 of 20 passes for 149 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, adding 10 carries for 71 yards and 1 touchdown, as well as 2 fumbles. Despite his strong play, the Packers opted to release him. That's when Sean Payton and the Saints came into the picture. Sean Payton and the Saints jumped for joy and swept Hill off the open market immediately. He was signed the following day and never looked back, and has remained in New Orleans since. Payton saw what Hill could be and realized his athleticism could prove to be useful in several roles. He also knew he had an aging veteran quarterback at the top of his depth chart, and in the back of his mind, hoped he could develop Hill into an NFL-level passer. Hill would sign to the active roster after 3 months on the practice squad and first see action on special teams primarily as a gunner. He played in 5 games, logging 4 tackles, but played just 1 snap on offense and did not record a statistic. In year 2, however, things changed in a dramatic way. Payton really unleashed the full abilities of Hill. Using him on nearly every facet of special teams, Hill actually saw a punt return attempt returned 14 kicks for 348 yards, including one that went 47 yards, and racked up 6 tackles on special teams, all while playing 80% of the team's special teams snaps. However, Payton also found a role for him on offense, opting to give him about 17% of the snaps on offense, which accounted for about 182 repetitions by season's end. Hill would see time as a passer, runner, and receiver. He would complete 3 of 7 passes for 64 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 1 interception, while adding 37 carries for 196 yards and 2 TDs, averaging 5.3 yards per carry. As a receiver, he caught 3 passes for 4 yards, showing his inexperience with the role after being a quarterback his entire career to this point. However, that did not stop Hill from trying to develop in this role that he had found with New Orleans. In fact, he came back in 2019 and showed that he could be a capable receiver at the NFL level. He took this role head on and did everything he could to improve as a passer, runner, and receiver to continue to contribute in many ways for the Saints. In 2019, he would ultimately attempt 6 passes, this time completing 3 for 55 yards, no touchdowns or interceptions. As a runner, he had 27 carries for 156 yards and 1 touchdown, but he really proved himself as a receiver, catching 19 passes for 234 yards, an average of a little over 12 yards per reception, and 6 touchdowns, while still contributing on special teams, although not in the return game. He had just 1 kick return for 12 yards and 2 tackles. Finally, in 2020 is when Hill began to see more time on the field as a quarterback. If you remember, Drew Brees got injured and ultimately missed, I believe, 5 games. Hill got all the starts. He would go 4-1 in those 5 games, and partially due to his comfort level with Payton, he would remain the starter despite the fact that Jameis Winston actually was the guy who came off the bench when Brees was initially injured. Hill wound up having what amounted to a career year, completing 72% of his passes, going 88 for 121 of his attempts for 928 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. He added 87 touches on the ground for 457 yards and 8 touchdowns, while adding 8 receptions for 98 yards and 1 touchdown, as well as 1 tackle. In my mind, Hill demonstrated that having him settle at one position other than quarterback is a mistake. At quarterback, he can touch the ball every play. You can still move him to other positions and bring in a guy like Winston, or now with the Saints, Dalton, if you so chose. However, they're opting to go the opposite direction and in fact make Hill more of a factor at other positions and take him away as a passer. I'll admit Hill has never been the greatest passer in the world, but at the same time, he brings a level of athleticism to the position that not many other guys can, outside of maybe Jalen Hurts, Kyler Murray, and Lamar Jackson, which are elite level players at quarterback. He's a guy who offensively could line up at every skill position with confidence that he isn't just a placeholder and is in fact going to contribute, and he has done it on the field to back this up. Whether it was a tight end, running back, quarterback, slot receiver, out wide, or even on special teams where he's shown to be a great contributor there as well. In 2021, the Saints staged, and I mean that quite literally, a quarterback competition. The fact was that unless Hill blew them out of the water with improved ability as a passer, he was going to open the season as the backup to Winston because of his ability to serve many roles on offense. This is where the pundits would speak up and say his versatility is coming back to bite him. However, I disagree because at this point, this was his 4th season in New Orleans as no more than a third quarterback. Had he not contributed in other ways, would he have even been on the Saints roster at this point? In my mind, it's highly unlikely. I think Sean Payton and Mickey Loomis kept him around because of his ability to play multiple roles and serve as depth in multiple positions. And this was showcased in 2021 when they ultimately started Jameis Winston and asked Hill to serve many other roles. Hill would ultimately start 9 games and play in 12. But if you do the math, that means the Saints had quarterbacks start 21 different games. Now, how could that be? Well, the very obvious math here is Hill started 4 games at other positions on top of the 5 games he started at quarterback. So that should tell you how versatile he was in 2021. He played as a tight end, he played as a running back, and he played as a quarterback, as a starter at those positions due to depth concerns. He didn't have a great year as a passer. He would ultimately end up having to serve as almost like a third-string quarterback all over again because of the fact that Sean Payton, the one guy who's had faith in Hill throughout his career, ultimately decided to go with Trevor Siemian rather than Taysom Hill. However, Siemian failed him, played his way out of a job, and Hill would ultimately end up starting the 5 games we spoke of at the end of the season. He did not have a great season, as I mentioned before. He managed just a 58.2% completion rate with 4 touchdowns and 5 interceptions, 70 carries for 374 yards and 5 touchdowns, and caught 4 of 6 targets for 52 yards. The thing is, Hill, for the first time in his career, had crossed the 50% mark on offensive snaps, while seeing a career low of 8% on special teams. Yet despite this, in 2022, new head coach Dennis Allen, the same man who has watched him move around his entire career as the defensive coordinator trying to guard him in practice, decided that Hill will apparently focus on tight end in 2022. Now, Dennis Allen is more of an old-fashioned coach. So was Sean Payton, but Sean Payton's always been on the cutting edge of offensive philosophy. So maybe this is why Dennis Allen sees this as the best-case scenario for Taysom Hill. However, Allen himself spoke of the fact that he believes that Taysom Hill could be an elite-level player as a move tight end in the NFL, which I will not argue with. However, the fact that you are going to place him in one position and potentially take away his ability to affect the game as a passer, as a runner, and only leave him as a receiver, despite the fact that he has very little time as such, seems like a foolish move to me. And I like Dennis Allen. I thought he got a bad shake as the head coach in Oakland with the Raiders back in the day. I thought he was a great coordinator in Denver and with New Orleans prior to that. And I think he's been great with New Orleans this time around. I'm super happy he got a head coaching job. But to see him build a quarterback room by bringing back Jameis Winston, signing Andy Dalton, and rolling with Ian Book as the third-string quarterback, and in turn moving Taysom Hill to tight end full-time, I cannot get behind this decision, and I will not get behind this decision. Ultimately, I think Dennis Allen is making the first mistake of his second chance as a head coach. And I hate to say that because I do not want to see him fail. In fact, I think it would be a great story if Dennis Allen succeeded Sean Payton and ultimately wound up being a long-term head coach in New Orleans. It would be a great story. Dennis Allen was a long-time assistant of Sean Payton. He's been in New Orleans for many, many years. To see him succeed there would be something that Saints fans would love. It would be something that all fans in football should love. A guy going back home to where he grew his career and he finally gets to succeed as the head coach, taking over for the guy that brought him there in the first place because he left on his own accord and not because he was forced out or fired. This is like something movies are made of, just like Taysom Hill's career, which I truly believe would be a great documentary. Everything he's overcome to get to this position, to put himself in a position on an NFL field to play quarterback, and then he has that chance snatched away from him, the first chance a a coach in this case has outside of Sean Payton. It's just mind-boggling to me. I get it. I understand that Taysom Hill can be a great tight end. He probably will be a great tight end. But if you're not using him in the run game and you're not allowing him to sometimes line up as a passer and maybe even play some special teams on top of that, then you're doing yourself a great disservice, because Taysom Hill is the one most versatile player in the NFL and has a skill set unlike any other player in the NFL. And for you to completely ignore that is nothing short of a mistake. And I hope you think twice about that, Dennis Allen. Hopefully you're just saying this so teams don't see it coming the first time he runs a jet sweep as a tight end or something of the sort. When you pull out the first wrinkle with him throwing a pass or running the ball or whatever it may be. I look forward to seeing him as a tight end because I've always wondered what he would do focused on one position, but I've never wondered enough to put him in a position where he's giving up other things he's great at to do so. Dennis Allen, man, I hope you come to your senses. But that's all I've got for you guys today. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I hope you enjoyed the news coming out that women will be taking on a bigger role in the NFL going forward. I, for one, think this is something that should have happened years ago. To sit here and say that men are the sole knowledge base on football is simply untrue, as we have seen. I have the utmost respect for any woman who can sit here and spit X's and O's like coaches can and do it with the best of them. And there's a reason why. Because they're fighting against a bias that shouldn't even be there. There should be no bias against women. At the end of the day, a coach is a coach. If you understand the game, you understand the game. And for it to have to be said that teams need to consider women going forward when we're in 2022 is nothing short of disappointing for the NFL and the Player Association in general. Ultimately, I'm glad it's making the move to try and better this situation, but I ultimately think, as per usual with the NFL, it is too little, too late on a subject that should have been addressed many years ago. But as I said, that's all I've got for you guys today. I don't want to get on a rant about how women should have been considered years ago, although I already kind of did. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe. I really need to get a push back to that goal, like I said, of 150 subscribers by my 6-month mark, which is in June. I've only got 2 more months to add about 45 more subscribers. So like, share, subscribe, tell your friends about the channel. Shoot, if you're interested on coming on and talking football with me, hit me up in my direct messages, and we'll work out a time for you to come on as well. As always, I really appreciate all your support. Please check out my sponsors, Geek, eBay Sports Memorabilia, Amazon Music, and Get Upside. Also, I would like to throw out there that my good friend and apparently co-worker at this point, Brian Snow, is going under the knife to hopefully defeat cancer. And he has set up a GoFundMe for his family to help deal with the medical expenses, as we all know, can be racked up from cancer. So please do me a favor, do what you can, go share his page, subscribe to his channel, and if you can, donate to his GoFundMe, because he's a great man who deserves the help, and he's fighting a terrible illness that has touched all of us at some point of our lives or not. The fact that good people continue to come down with such a terrible illness and have to ask for help to get it is nothing short of scary to me. We should always be looking to help each other and grow each other in ways that we would hope that other people would reach out and do for us. And Brian's a guy that has always been a really good person to me, and he's gone out of his way to help me grow and help me become a bigger part of this journalism world that him and I are trying to conquer together. And I just really appreciate everything he's done for me, so the least I can do is shout him out, hopefully get some support flowing his way, because I know as soon as I possibly can, I'll be donating to him. I know that him being the type of guy he is, he would do the same for me if I was in this situation. So please, I'm asking you from the bottom of my heart, Go support a great man. Help him fight cancer. Let's all get behind him and help him defeat something that he shouldn't even have to deal with in the first place. Like I said before, cancer has touched us all in some way or another. I've lost an aunt to cancer, and she was a great person as well. I'd rather not see another great person fight this alone. So let's give him our support. And I'm getting all choked up just talking about it. So please reach out. Even if it's just to say you're behind him, you've got prayers for him, you're keeping him in your thoughts. It all means a lot, okay? So just let him know that we're all behind him. He deserves our support. Like I said, he's a great man. He's been helping me in many ways. So once again, this is Shady Sports Network, signing off for the day. I hope you enjoyed the video.
What's up, everybody? This is Sam with Shady Sports Network. I wanted to take a moment out and thank the sponsors that are helping keep this channel going. In case you haven't caught it, Shady Sports Network has teamed with SeatGeek to provide you with our very own discount code Sam Shady. Using this code at checkout will save you $20 on every purchase. Whether you're attending a football game, concert, or other sporting event, chances are SeatGeek will offer the best deals for the event you are hoping to attend. Big shout out to SeatGeek for sponsoring this video and all my other content on YouTube, as well as the articles I write. Companies like this are helping channels like mine grow and continue to progress as content creators, in turn helping you bring more consistent and better content. So please go check out SeatGeek today, and remember to use my code SamShady at checkout to save $20. Also helping sponsor channel is eBay Sports. eBay Sports is your one-stop shop for all things sports. Whether you're after trophies, collectibles, apparel, or more, it's sports related. Go check out my special link in the description below to help support Shady Sports Network in our quest to continue growing and providing you with more sports coverage and better quality content in the future. Amazon Music is yet another partner of Shady Sports Network. I personally have been using Amazon Music for several years due to the fact that it does not require you to have solid service to listen to the music that you want to listen to. This was particularly useful in my past career, where I was working inside a warehouse 12 to 16 hours a day, depending on the day. This kept me sane for many years because I was able to listen to the music that I wanted to without interruption in a place that was otherwise very, very boring if I didn't have the music. So once again, click on my link below in the description to join Amazon Music and find all the benefits that you can find on that app in particular. I personally have several music apps, but Amazon Music is my go-to because of the fact that you do not need the service. You don't get interrupted when you're in the middle of a song. It doesn't just cut out because you randomly lose service when you're walking around a building, which drives me nuts. But on to our last sponsor of the day, and this is less a sponsor, more an app I just support and happens to provide cash back to those who support it. Get Upside is an app that I have been touting for a while because it will quite literally pay you cash back to purchase gas at participating gas stations. The app is extremely user-friendly and points you to the nearest deal and lists out several so you can find the most cash back. This app is great for those who travel often, but still useful for those city drivers who don't drive too far from home, because at the end of the day, it's cumulative. So you can't actually take cash back until you hit $10 without taking a fee, but you add up $10 so fast it's not even funny. I think you basically build up $10 off like 2 or 3 fill-ups, and you take that cash and immediately goes in your account within 2 to 3 days typically. And there are no catches, none whatsoever. There's no reason why you shouldn't be using this app at this point in time. It saves you money, puts money back in your pocket. It can be used at gas stations, grocery stores, restaurants, and several other things are coming down the pike in ways that I'm not even familiar with at the moment. You can use my code SAM363682 to help support Shady Sports Network today and earn yourself some extra cash back on your first purchase. This is one of those things where if you use this app and you use my code, for every gallon of gas you purchase, you're actually going to continuing to support the channel. And this is not only helpful to me, but hopefully if you stick with us and you watch the videos that come out following this, you'll only continue to see an improvement in quality of this content, and hopefully see more content coming down the pike. Unfortunately, at this particular point, this is not a full-time position for me, but as this starts to grow and gain an audience, I'm looking to transition this into a bigger part of my life. I would love to have you guys on board. So do me a favor, check out these 4 sponsors that are doing everything they can to help keep Shady Sports Network afloat and keeping us produce content for you guys in the future. Again, check out Get Upside, Amazon Music, eBay Sports, and SeatGeek today to help support Shady Sports Network. Now, back to the content.